Hello. We're back. This week on SDL, Russ and I are going to talk about our favorite Internet of Things items that we just can't live without, but in a PG kind of way, because I know that Russ was just itching. That's not a good word, but it's a word I'm going to use anyway. He's on Skype, so who knows what's going to happen on that end. But Russ was just itching to talk about other IoT things. Maybe we'll get our nerve up and talk about those one day, or they talk about them on Security Weekly all the time on the R-rated version of the show. Or we'll do SDL After Hours. So this week on SDL, our favorite Internet of Things items. Hang around.
This is a Security Weekly production.
Welcome to Secure Digital Life. And you type in AAA porn or whatever it is you're typing in. I'm sorry. I was at a PG show.
And I'm really excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here because somebody needs to know what's going on.
That's right.
Okay, so
now somebody has to drink this.
I think it's another day. It's another episode.
Yeah, he's looking at the wrong camera.
You put my camera over here. Cut. Basically, forget you ever saw that. I think actually forgetting you ever saw that would really be a good idea at this point. Yes, we're here. Here we go. We're back. All those good things. So be sure, if you haven't already, plan ahead for DEF CON. That's coming right up on July 27th in sunny Las Vegas. Also, the Wild West. Oh, I always get it wrong. The Hacking Fest. There it is. They got it on the screen there. The Wild West Hacking Fest. Don't drop that G, too. The Hacking Fest in Deadwood, South Dakota. I really want to go to that. So somebody needs to invite me to be there and pay my way and all those good things. Because, when I call my boss and I go, I want to go to the Wild West Hacking Fest, my boss goes, I don't think so. Although I have a new boss coming right up. So Russ is joining us via Skype from the ultra cool lounge where he's hanging out. Hi, Russ.
Hi, Doug. That's my office, not the lounge, but you can call it whatever you want. It's actually called the Boom Boom Room. They've christened it. It has its own Facebook page.
I see there. It has its own Facebook page, and it's called the Boom Boom Room. Okay. Yep. Well, alrighty then. Speaking of Las Vegas, but no, it looks lovely. I like all the colors and all that. It's better than my set, which I actually have a different set today too, because I'm gonna do a Hack Naked News in a minute. So after the show. I know. Oh, I can see you behind me now. I can see Russ looming on the screen back there. Oh yeah, he's looming. I should. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Check out my fish tank, too.
Well, we're going to talk about Internet of Things again today, and this is something we all like to talk about a lot. And the reason we like to talk about Internet of Things so much is because Internet of Things has such an impact on everything at this point. That's why it's called the Internet of Things. It's like everything. And almost everything that you have that is connected is really part of the Internet of Things. And because of that, there's this huge security threat that comes in from there. And that's why people spend so much time talking about Internet of Things, because of all these unknown security threats that are coming in. And unlike your, say, laptop, which you may or may not have secured, or even your phone, which you may or may not have secured, Internet of Things items are not always as securable, nor is there very much information about what they are. I kind of define Internet of Things as anything that you have that's your personal stuff that you connect to some kind of network. So that means it's accessible from somewhere else. I mean, that's sort of my defining criteria of it. I mean, it could obviously stretch out to include just about everything on the earth. Russ, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you're absolutely right on point. I mean, it can relate to just about anything, from refrigerators to automobiles to satellites, drones, whatever. I mean, it can relate to anything that connects to the internet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean that's kind of the way I've been defining it. So it really could include like your Bluetooth headset, even. I mean, if you wanted to get right down to it. So anything that would allow somebody to see it or connect to it becomes a part of then the general security threat that you have to deal with every day. And because so many of these devices are manufactured with aftermarket or third-party chipsets, they're manufactured in other countries. Not that manufacturing them here would make any difference, but you have there's no controls being placed on any of this kind of stuff. So for most of us, if we're using these things, we're not really getting a good feel for exactly how much of a threat they become. And if you've watched Security Weekly or you've watched some of the other shows, you've probably heard them talking about the number of threats that come into play just by having these things around. But that doesn't mean we're going to get rid of them. So I wanted to do an episode of our top 5 things. So we can go back and forth. I put mine kind of in order that I thought that they mattered to me the most, that I couldn't live without them. I don't know about your list, but so we're going to do our top 5 IoT things that we have, and we'll see where we are. I haven't seen Russ's list. He sent it to me, but I didn't look because I'm lazy, and I was riding a motorcycle. And if you think texting and driving is bad, try texting and riding a motorcycle, and then you'll really understand exactly what bad is all about. Don't do that. That would be bad. My number 5 was one that I like a lot that's come about, is web-enabled television. The ability to see Netflix and Hulu and Vudu and all these other streaming networks, including now instead of the cable, using HBO Go or whatever. I love my web-enabled television because I can stream shows onto the TV off the internet instead of waiting on them to come on somewhere. So I can just watch Netflix on the big TV instead of watching it on my little monitor. So that one, is the CIA listening to me? Probably, but it's really, really boring. So when they tune in, they're not really getting a lot of excitement, I think, from watching me on my TV, or listening to you on your TV was what they were supposedly doing. So are there threats from web-enabled television? Yes. It's connected to the internet. If it's connected to the internet, that means it's connected to your network. That means that somehow it's accessing the web, which means traffic's going out, traffic's coming in. And that means you've got ports open. It may be using port 80. It may be using other ports to stream, but it has some kind of connection to the outside world. How safe is that connection? Well, that depends on the television manufacturer. It depends on what you do to your network if you've watched our other shows. So all those things can kind of come around to haunt you. So I'll let Russ, what's your 5th item, Russ?
My 5th is my home, or as I will repurpose it, my office surveillance system. And I've got a couple of IP cameras in the office that I can connect over the internet to monitor my fish tank, their health, and they're also motion and sound activated. So if somebody comes in here, it triggers a recording thing, so I know what's going on in here at all times.
Wow. I mean, that's I like that idea. You could monitor your fish tank from Germany. Yep. That's a pretty handy thing to be able to do, I think. Cool. I like that. I would like to have that in my office, so maybe I'll have to set
especially
that up.
Considering I have to feed them through the internet too when I'm away.
Oh, one of those kind of cool things. So wow, talk about a hack. So now I can attack your fish feeder and I could like try to overweight your fish or something by the time you get back. That's a subtle hack. Instead of just dumping all the food, it's be like, I'm going to subtly raise the weight on Russ's fish. I kind of like that. I mean, that's my cool kind of attack. No, that really is, because I always went for the really subtle thing that I could brag about to myself. So I slowly raised the average weight of your fish. Mission accomplished. And then I can go to DEF CON and present my fish weight increasing paper. Yeah, okay, sure, you bet. That's why I never get invited to DEF CON. My number 4 then. So my number 4 was video doorbells. And I didn't want to use the brand name because they don't pay me, so too bad. If you want to give me a free one, we'll talk. But I love my video. My office is at home, where I sometimes do the shows or whatever, but today I'm over here. My office at home is not attached to my house. And so if people come to the front door of my house and they ring the old school traditional doorbell, it goes bing bong at the house. And yeah, there's all kinds of ways I could rig that, and I could run wire and all kinds of crazy stuff, but I don't want to, because I have Internet of Things video doorbells. So I can take a video doorbell, I can put that thing on the front porch, I can see when somebody walks up on the porch. If somebody rings the bell, I can talk to them. I can pull that right up on my phone. I can actually see them. They can see me if I want to. I don't know. They can't see me, but I can talk to them. And I really like. Plus, it records, so it uploads to the cloud. It's a sort of a security system. Does it connect to the internet? Yes, it does. Does it connect to the cloud? Yes, it does. Does it connect to my home network? Yes, it does. So all those things are pieces of security threat that start to evolve in terms of now there's a known device that's outside on your residence that someone can actually visually see through a binocular or whatever and say, I know what brand and make and model that is, and maybe there's something about it. The one I have seems pretty safe. I looked it over. I can't really find a big hole in it. I'm sure there are some that Larry or Paul or some of those guys could come take down. But for the most part, it seemed reasonably safe. If somebody tries to disassemble it or whatever, it's kind of hard to do. You have to have screwdrivers, and it's videoing you the whole time you're doing that. So, can you wear a mask? Yeah, of course. One of my questions about that one was, I wonder what it does to police warrants. When the police want to serve warrants on you and they show up on your front porch, and the minute they do, your phone lights up and says someone's on your front porch and they're getting ready to beat on the door, and now everybody's, so be sure and cover the back door, guys, when you're doing warrants. What's your number 4, Russ? Come on. Let's have
believe it or not, my car.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, my car has the internet, and I can connect to it from an app on my smartphone, where I can do basically 4 things. I can lock or unlock the car. I can turn on the ventilation system, and I can send directions to it for navigation. But I cannot start the car or stop it from the phone. And really, those are only 4 things. But from time to time, I'll leave my key fob in the cup holder tray, and then I'm like, oh crap! Now, good thing I don't lock the car, or my keys didn't get locked in the car. Even if they did, I can unlock it from my phone.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, my car won't even lock with the key. If I leave the key fob in the car won't lock. It starts beeping and being really. My car is not controllable through. How is it? What is it? Wi-Fi? You actually literally going through the internet?
Yeah, my car has a 3G signal, and it has an IP address.
Okay, so if it has a 3G signal and IP address, it's a target. You do have a Cisco firewall sitting on your dash, right, to protect yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, if you want to do any of the 4 things that I just said, each program command takes about 1 minute and 30 seconds to get through whatever number of secure servers that BMW has, and then sends it to your car. So there's a middleman, woman, if you will, server that gets in the way and filters the traffic and I guess somehow identifies it as legitimate or illegitimate.
Well, we all know we can always trust those big companies to make sure everything is safe. But yeah, they would have to, because all it's going to take is one compromise on something like that, and BMW is not going to sell very many cars. So, that doesn't mean they're going to do it, but it means they should be doing it. The same, my car actually uploads and has connections that you can't connect to it, but it does connect back to, it talks to the home office and downloads updates and things like that, which means that it's connected, which means that, in fact, worse than Russ's, I can't even see it, so I don't know what it's doing. So good luck. It's, connecting to some server in I don't know, in Japan, and I hope that next update's not got a giant hole in it, or all of a sudden my nav screen in my car comes up Windows ME or something like that. So, because you just never know. Okay, my number 3. My number 3 was tiles. I really like these things. And that is a brand. Sorry, I don't know I'm sure there's generic things in other brands, but tiles. I got one of these things somebody gave me one of these for fun, and I started using it, and I found it's a really handy thing, because now my only gripe with it is my hearing is so bad that sometimes I can't actually hear the thing when it's chiming to tell me where my keys are, because my cats get my keys, and the cats take the keys somewhere, and then you don't know where they are. And I know I'm blaming my cats for the mess on my kitchen table, but that's, it's easy to blame cats, and they don't really care because they get fed either way. But you have these on you. They're connected. They're connected to the internet. Other people can see them. So if you go out and about, you can actually scan for other tiles. And in fact, you can even let the tiles talk to other users, so that if somebody sees your tile, they can report it. So if you lost your wallet on the side of the freeway and somebody driving back goes, "Ooh, look, a tile," they can actually report it. But now you've actually opened yourself up to all kinds of snooping and tracking and all sorts of things. And that part makes me, I don't use that part, because it makes me very nervous to say I'm going to share that piece of information so other people can see this. One big tip for tiles, if you use them, don't name them things like wallet, car keys. Name them things like Bob and Louise. That way, when people see them, they have no idea what they are, and it's a lot hard. I know, guys, I know hackers. You can tell what they are, and you can take them out. But it just keeping people from knowing what that is. Now, then you may forget and go, "Why is Bob in my house?" And then you have a big problem. But what about your number 3, Russ?
My number three is my Apple Watch. I Believe it or not, I don't use it as much as I want to. But what makes it what makes it interesting for me is, like you, I ride a motorcycle, and for far too long, I've always had an issue with when I'm using GPS. And so, I don't have a nice little like mount on my bike because I have a sport bike. So, rather, I should say a street bike. So it doesn't really have the room or the area to add a cell phone holder. So what I do is I put the map into Apple Maps, and then I can use my watch screen to know where to turn and stuff like that. So that to me is my probably third favorite.
Okay, I like it. I mean, I would probably do. I mean, I don't have an Apple Watch because I'm not rich like you, but yeah, I don't have one because I don't ever wear watches. I got in the habit of never doing that because I play guitar and all this stuff, and I was like, I don't know. I never wore watches, but my motorcycle does have a mount for my phone, so yeah, I can see why that would be useful. Although I'm not sure I could see it on my wrist, but I don't know. Well, I'd have to. If it works for you, hey, whatever. And again, you're connecting, and I mean those are pretty well established. We haven't seen lots and lots of outcomes that are problematic from that. Okay, so my number two one's kind of weird. I took all my stage lights. So in my set at home, I have stage lights, which are called DMX lights. And DMX 512 is a network protocol that is used over cables to manage lights in shows, clubs. So you go see a rock band tonight at a club, or even if you go see one at the stadium, there's a really distinct possibility that all those lights you see up there are DMX-based lights that are being managed by Ableton or some other kind of piece of software. And they just recently started selling Wi-Fi plugs. So they sell a 3-prong Wi-Fi DMX plug that you can put in the back of your lights, and you can actually see all your lights over Wi-Fi. And mine are not accessible with the internet, so they're not really Internet of Things devices, but they probably will be soon, so that you can have your stage. Because I have a really good friend. Hi, you know who you are, who manages large, I mean like crazy stadium shows. He like writes all the software and he develops all this stuff. And I know they're working where they would love for him to be able to manage something in the show when he's not actually there. So if he could access it over, so I would guess that's coming. You could probably set it up anyway if it's on your network. You could probably allow access to it, which would be crazy. But that's one of my numbers. So what's your number two, Russ?
Number two, it would have to be Philips Hue. And I use my entire office, which is producing this crazy pink-blue lighting that you're seeing in the background, comes from my Philips Hue setup. And I think I have about 13 different lights, which are everything from just simple light bulbs to light strips to accent lighting. And I can control them, as I'm going to do now, by using an app on my cell phone. Now you can just see that the lighting in my background, change, kind of trippy, right? And then if I'm feeling Aurora Borealis today, I can adjust the lights to be like an Aurora Borealis kind of thing.
Wow, it's like the last 10 minutes of 2001.
Yeah, so let me just put it back to my favorite.
Thank you. I thought I was having a stroke there for a minute.
And so they're all internet connected, and I can connect to the bridge. It's a little device that looks like a small router that's connected to a router. You can just connect to it from anywhere in the world and control the lights, which is kind of. And
I think Philips Hue was one of the first things that people started talking about having some potential security problems built into it because, again, this kind of comes back to this old problem that I've talked about for a long time, which is engineering versus security. And as programmers and engineers, we usually just think about building and getting things to work efficiently and effectively. We never tended to think about, well, is it a risk? We'll let somebody else worry about that if we even talked about it at all. And today, all of a sudden, all those things have come home to roost. So there's a lot of code out there. There's a lot of chipsets out there that have vulnerabilities in them, and they keep getting reused. And if you stay around and watch Hack Naked News in a little while, almost all we're going to be talking about is vulnerabilities that manifest themselves from the past. So we see this just keep coming around. Like, say, if you don't know what Petya is, It's the latest big thing that's taking over all these old unpatched systems. The problem for me with Internet of Things like Hue is that it's very difficult to update them. And so patching them and trying to manage them, not that you can't, but it's very difficult to do. And the companies sell these things and they didn't always test them because they're going, it's a light bulb. What's somebody going to do? But then somebody said, well, I can make the lights flicker really, really fast and cause Russ to have like a seizure, which if we could do that, believe me, we would be doing it right now. It would be, I would be pushing the button and it would be like, oh, kind of problem for Russ, but it's not going to happen. So maybe somebody else, if you're out there and you want, you know where Russ is now, you can see him there on the screen. Okay, so my number one then. My number one thing I decided I really couldn't live without, Bluetooth valve stems. I love my tire pressure gauges because I know that in the distant, dark, grim past that people, I mean, like subhuman almost type people, crawled around in the muck with little gauges, pushing them against their valve stems to see what their tire pressures were. I mean, I remember doing that. I don't want to do that crap anymore. I want to sit in my car. I want to drink my coffee with the air conditioning on and go, oh, the tire's low on the right side. And then I can call AAA on my car phone and say, my valve stem pressure is a little low on the right side and the temperature outside is slightly less than pleasant. Could you just come on out and maybe put, a few pounds in there? I really do like them because they warn me when my tires are low. They warned me my tire just went flat. I mean, you'd think you'd notice that, but sometimes people don't. But I really do like that. I decided if I had to give up any of this stuff, that I would keep that one. I'm kind of kidding, but I really like my Bluetooth valve stems. Are they hackable? Mine supposedly aren't. I even called Toyota and asked them about it. And of course, what are they going to say? Yes, sir, you're at huge risk. No, of course. I don't even think they knew what I was talking about. But I called some poor clerk and I was like, are my valve stems hackable? Like, what is the IP address of them? And they're like, oh, I think you're fine, sir. Don't worry about it. Okay, Russ, number one from you.
My number one device to rule them all, Alexa. And I've been using Alexa now for about, 2 years maybe.
That's one of those sex robots, right?
Yeah, right, sex robot. Actually,
I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
There she is right there, that little stick-looking thing. Yeah, bow now. And so she can do pretty much anything and everything that I can do. Well, not everything, but she can do a lot of things that I would want. Like, for instance, I can ask her how the traffic is, or I can have her turn all the lights in my office off simply by prompting her with her name. I can have her order stuff off my Amazon list, and I can have her actually turn on the fans in my car, believe it or not. So. Wow. She's like one device that can control a lot of others, which is kind of wild.
Which means that device, of course, is then one of the biggest risks in your whole setup because that device is capable of controlling your computers, your car, all kinds of things. And in fact, we've heard people saying don't say those words on the shows because you can actually trigger them through the network vocally. I mean, I could see that because it was one of the things that I was talking to somebody about not too long ago was, what if you could trigger that with, like an intercom system, so if you went up to somebody's house and pressed the intercom and you could say unlock all the doors or whatever, and because that would actually be conceivably possible, given the nature of these things. I don't actually have an Alexa either yet. I'm behind the times. I'm still, I still light my office with coal oil lamps, and we still use gas-fired computing at our house. But one of the things that happened, Doug, to give you a bit more of a real world example, I have a robot in my office. It's a telepresence robot that you can log in through the internet, and the face comes up on the screen, and it has a speaker where it can communicate with people in my office. So some colleagues of mine decided to have fun one day. I sent them the URL to the robot. They logged in through the web. And then they started issuing commands to Alexa. And there are two things that I hate on the planet. Number one are the chipmunks. And number two is Christmas. And so what they did was they had the robot, through the robot, they had it play the Chipmunks Christmas album and turn the volume all the way up to 100%. So I was in a meeting down the hall, and all I could hear is Christmas, Christmas time, and all that crap, right? And it was in June,
And I'm just like, so that, I mean, that's an example of,
I only know the dirty version of that song from Robot Chicken, so I won't sing it here. But I know what you're talking about. So what can you do? That's our list of cool things. What can you do about Internet of Things? Well, to me, this is my quick and dirty list of things you might want to consider doing. One is read. So, the very first thing you should do if you're thinking about buying an Internet of Things type device is jump on the internet and Google, how to hack or hacking or problems or vulnerabilities or exploits or whatever kind of words come to mind. I'd probably try exploits or vulnerabilities for fill in the name of your favorite IoT thing here. So just see if it's widely known exploit. That doesn't mean it's safe, but it at least means you're not buying something that's a known problem, because there are things that are known problems that are still being sold. So you don't want to get involved in that. My second thing is again, review your network. Look at the threats to your network. Can people get into your network? How do they get into your network? Do you have your router set up correctly? There's a lot of stuff we've talked about in these shows. And three, just you think. How big of a risk is this, and what is at risk? I mean, this is how you do a lot of basic security assessments. What is at risk? If someone does get in your home, so you've given them a keyhole and a door, and they're going to get in through your Hughes system or through your Ring doorbell or through your Tile or whatever it is they're going to get in through, what's at risk? Can they get to all your data? How is it protected internally? Can they actually come in and just exfoliate or retrieve everything that you've got? Or is that reasonably safe? So you need to start thinking about that and just, how do you isolate these things? My big suggestion, create separate networks. If you can create separate network segments in your home, and we'll talk about how to do that real soon on a show, create separate network segments in your home, one for IoT devices, one for all your other stuff. That way you've isolated those two things from each other. So if somebody takes over your IoT network, just treat it like a DMZ, a demilitarized zone. Everything in there is a threat. Put your safe stuff on another network segment that they can't get to with their IoT stuff. That's not that hard to do. Maybe you have to put another Wi-Fi router up to run that. But I like that idea. Russ, any other comments? Because we're running out of time.
No, I just think what you said is great, and maybe we should focus an upcoming show on setting up a guest or a VPN network at home and dealing with that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do a show about how to set up a second network to do IoT, particularly because I think that if you've got refrigerators and TV sets and things that you are using this on, you may seriously want to actually isolate those things in their own segment. Keep those comments, cards, and letters rolling in. We love to hear comments. If you have a show you'd like to see or you got a topic you want to hear us talk about, please let us know, because we're always looking for cool things to talk about, or not so cool things. I don't know. Depends on how you determine it. Thanks for watching SDL. We'll see you next time.